In the one-shot story titled Joker's Asylum number 2, Killer Croc in 2008, we get a story arc of Killer Croc highlighting why he's one of Batman's most unfortunate and depressing enemies. The story starts off with the Joker in Arkham Asylum, talking to an unnamed inmate trying to greet them. He goes on talking, making us wonder who or what he's talking to, which he then reveals to be Killer Croc. He does say that Croc is misunderstood and possesses a gentle soul, titling whatever fairy tale he's talking about Beauty and the Beast, which will make sense later at the end of the story. It shows Croc locked up speaking with the doctor. The doctor asks him some questions that clearly frustrates Croc, asking about his years in juvie and prison, or growing up with a skin condition, not to mention bringing up his alcoholic and abusive aunt who his father abandoned him to, all things that clearly upset Waylon. Croc finally snaps when the doctor asks about his mother, in which Croc tries to attack the doctor, but the chains keep him binded. The doctor steps out of the room for a bit, telling Croc that he can be his monster self all he wants since there's no escape for him, and the chains, as well as his guilt, are going to bind him there forever. When the doctor comes back, he realizes that Croc broke out of the chains by biting off his hands. The next scene shows a crime scene of the area. Croc escaped, with Joker laughing, saying the doctor pleaded to him for help. Batman shows up, saying that Waylon belongs in a cage, not in Arkham being treated, with Gordon agreeing with him. Batman tells Gordon that Croc took the sewers to escape, and he begins to follow the trail, asking himself if any of this was planned and if Croc had an accomplice, and if so, who would pick up a monster off the street. Personally, I don't like how Batman and Gordon see Croc as a monster here. Typically, Batman of all people understands Waylon's position, but I guess it depends on the writer. Anyway, it then cuts to day 8 after Croc's escape, where he wakes up in a room, and when he does, he meets someone named Edgar Mason, who seemingly helped him escape from the sewers and away from the cops. Edgar tells Croc that they helped him heal, and that him and his wife will keep him safe, in exchange for Croc working together with them. The next day, Edgar's wife, Juliet, shows up to meet Croc, introducing herself and giving him food. Edgar's wife for the next 5 days develops a relationship with him, giving him things like clothes, letting Croc know how much she loves Edgar, and they can all make a great team together if they work together, and she asks Croc to help them. The next scene shows Edgar's offer in action, in which it shows a room full of dead goons, and Edgar using Croc as his muscle to get what he wants. They kill the mobsters together, and Edgar praises Croc, making him think they're good friends. 5 days later, Edgar introduces his wife to a brand new house, with her being delighted and loving it. She's surprised to see Croc standing there, but Edgar lets her know that Croc is family now. She's happy to hear that, and asks Croc to celebrate with them. A few days later, Edgar is seen talking shop with some mobsters in the city, with Croc standing guard. He lets them know that he's in charge and tells them that he's now in charge of their crime family, and that he'll collect the boss's percentages. The mobsters all give a look of distaste, with Edgar telling them to go enjoy the party. He then tells Croc that they're all plotting against him, as he can tell with the looks he gave him, so he tells Croc to kill them before it's too late, in which Croc complies, and does just that. When he gets back, he notices Juliet sitting alone. She notices Croc and sees him all bloody. She mentions how Edgar is gone, presumably having more secret meetings behind both of their backs. She then tells Croc to go get cleaned up and get ready for dinner, as they don't need Edgar for any of it. A few days later, it shows her leaving late at night, with Edgar saying this is her 3rd time this week doing that. She's frustrated at Edgar, and she starts to insult Croc, calling him Edgar's pet killer. Edgar replies with saying Croc made their lives better, and he wants Croc to watch over her. Juliet refuses. Edgar then leaves Juliet to do whatever she wants, being disappointed. The next few days, Juliet and Croc form a bond. She mentions to Croc how she used to have a friend that Edgar didn't like, so he beat him up in front of her. She then continues to tell Croc about how Edgar is scaring her and makes her feel trapped. Juliet is then gone again the next day. Edgar, being furious, blames Croc before coming to his senses and apologizing, telling Croc he's been the only faithful one. He tells Croc to go to the address he thinks she's at and to take care of anyone inside, with Croc complying. When Croc gets there, he stands outside the house. From inside the house, there's a man with Juliet holding a shotgun, with Juliet telling him to shoot Croc once he gets inside. Croc leaves before going inside, however. The man asks what the plan is now, with Juliet telling him that they're going to stick with the original plan, and she asks him to hit her in the face. The next day, Croc sees Juliet hiding her face on the staircase. She's worried for Croc and asks where he's been. She begins to manipulate him, convincing him that Edgar wants to kill them both. He then sees her injured face. Juliet tells Croc that Edgar hurt her and stormed off. Croc then furiously leaves looking for Edgar, with Juliet letting off a malicious smile. He breaks into Edgar's room. Edgar is crying, apologizing to Killer Croc, thinking he's mad at him because he sent her to kill Juliet, which he presumed he did. Before he could even finish his sentence, Croc kills him with a fully charged forward smash. Juliet then walks in, acting really surprised. She tells Croc that they need to leave, but to first break his safe and take all his money. Croc begins to do so, but then, as they're about to leave, Juliet's friend walks in with a shotgun, shooting Croc. The man stops shooting at one, however, with Juliet telling him to keep shooting. It's too late though, as Croc throws a safe door at the man, slicing his head clean off. Juliet mourns the loss of her lover. Croc is then shown to be charging at her, with her pleading for her life, saying that she is sorry and made a mistake. Croc calms down for a bit, with her trying to convince Croc that he's not a monster and he's a good man. It then cuts to the next day, with Batman finally tracking down where Croc seemingly is. Gordon tells him to be careful as he enters the building. When he enters, he sees Croc standing over the dead bodies in the room, looking defeated. Croc has given up and doesn't even fight back. He tells Batman that they were the monsters and not him. He then tells Batman to put him back. One of the saddest moments of Waylon Jones, in my opinion. He has known nothing but pain literally his entire life since birth. Growing up with a skin condition that made people despise and bully him, being raised by an alcoholic and abusive aunt, and never getting a shred of love or decency. The world forced him into becoming a monster. And the one time where it seems like he had people that cared for him and actually thought of him as family, end up trying to backstab him at the very end. It's really depressing once you think about it. It then cuts to the asylum, circling back to the Joker, laughing at Croc's story that Croc told him. He pretty much tells Croc that there was never going to be a happy ending for him. It then shows Croc back in his cell, this time with a muzzle, sitting there, depressed, seemingly given up on life, as it ends with Joker telling him that it's good to have him back.